Hey, welcome if you're watching me today, Wednesday, the 28th of August. My name is Ayo, and my friend Sade is about to join me. And we're going to be talking about something I think that you're going to find very interesting. It's about how I think that Sade is here. I need to bring her on. Hope I can do this. Very sensitive stuff. All right, yeah, okay. That should. So, hey, Shadi.
Good morning. It's morning
Hi.
over here.
Good
How are
morning.
you?
Good afternoon. I'm okay. How are you too?
Good. Let's get some light on. All right. Here we are. You're frozen. You moved a little bit.
Can you hear me then?
Hear you now. Yes. Yep,
Hmm.
I can hear you.
I shouldn't be freezing. I mean, the weather is like an Indian summer today, so this is not the time to freeze. But
Nice.
anyway, let's see
Very
how it
nice.
goes. Today is my first broadcast with my dog in the room, so she's right there, and I'm trusting her to be nice to us.
Hi, puppy.
Yeah. Right, Shadi. So I was telling
Right.
our guests that
So, what are we talking about today?
that we're going to talk about how ourselves handle romance and relationships as adults.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Is that a good thing?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you're kind of, so there's a little lag in your audio, but I think hopefully it'll smoothen out as we go.
Okay. Okay. Mm.
Childhood affects adult relationships. Yeah, see, all of that cut out.
You
I think
still
your
have
audio
a
is cutting
lag.
out a little bit.
Mm. If you really want me to fix it, you have to give me how you say uh timeout.
A timeout. I can hear you now. That's the weird thing.
If you want me
I
to
can hear you
fix
now.
it,
Now you're fine.
yeah, because I'm thinking of what could cause that. But otherwise, if you're ready to let me roll with it, then we'll roll with it.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So, I
So,
was thinking about
childhood
this.
and adult
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah, because I've seen people, I know people who are close to me, people who, some people have a hard time falling in love, or who do fall in love, but have a hard time concluding that and deciding that this is the relationship they want and this is the person they want to marry. And if you look at that relationship, there's
Hmm.
it's normal having fear of at the end of committing, what they call the fear of commitment and letting go. So that's one of the examples. And there are many other examples, and I think what we're going to try to talk about is what part of our childhood leads um, to those inabilities to have fulfilling relationships, whether in a marriage or in the process of courting someone or in any other situation where you're in a romantic relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what you've described there sounds like the fear of intimacy.
All right.
And what happens is, if you think of human beings, think of them like each of us has like a magnetic field.
Yeah.
Physically, we have a field around us. So sometimes when someone comes in your space, you can feel uncomfortable. It's the same thing emotionally. you know
Yeah.
when someone comes into your emotional space, it can be uncomfortable. It can feel great. it can
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
also
Yeah.
feel it can also feel uncomfortable. So depending on how a child was raised, and this comes from what psychologists call attachment theory. So we were taught how
Okay.
to attach to other human beings by our parents, by the way our parents responded to us, by the way our parents treated us, and by the way our parents modeled their own relationships to us. That's basically how we were programmed to then respond to other human beings when they come into our space. We're programmed to attach to other human beings. And if you look into attachment theory, it's actually very fascinating. There are different ways of attaching. But what you've described here, the fear of intimacy, where someone gets into it and they sabotage the relationship. It's too much to be that close to another human being. A lot of that will come from, and there are a couple of different scenarios that can cause that. One would be a child whose parents did not fulfill their needs. So when the child was born, you can say from ages 0 to 2, which is when attachment is formed. Sometimes the parents have 7 kids. So when number 7 is born, their minds are already, they're already tired. So when that child wants to be held, when that child wants to be close, when the child wants their attention, they don't give it. And what happens with the child is the child starts to withdraw, right, from needing, because the feeling of being rejected by your parents is so painful to a child, because biologically the child needs the parents to survive. When the child is now rejected by parents, that feeling is so painful. Some children will develop they will avoid needing other people. They will avoid depending on other people. They will avoid being intimate. Yeah.
You're saying that rejection is at the root of many of these formations that reactions that we form?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Being rejected by your parents, or seeing your parents rejecting each other on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I'm very
You're
curious
programmed to then feel that relationships are rejection, basically.
I'm curious about this because one of the things I hope to take away from this is those who are now parents, for them to become more mindful that your kids are watching you and they're learning from you, and they're watching how you, daddy and mommy, love each other or treat each other. And they're going to carry it on to the future. Can you talk more about that? If I see my mommy and dad, my dad hurts my mom, abuse my mom, or my mom hurts my dad, this case maybe, what does that teach me? And how may that influence me?
Yeah, I think it teaches a child to just think that marriage is awful and that intimate relationships are awful. That's just, when you look at it and you don't see anything good. I remember I was about age 11, 12, and I was like, I'm never getting married, First of all, boys were gross, so that was one. And then secondly, my dad and my mom were extremely chaotic in their relationship. Even after the divorce, the drama just went on forever. And I told myself I was having none of this, which didn't serve me, because when I eventually got married, then I just married whoever was available at the moment that I decided that. So there's an education process that goes on with parents and kids. And if we're not fully engaged in that process, knowing that how relationship and what we're saying and what we're doing, you can raise the kid and have high hopes for them, but they're actually going to do what you do, not what you say.
Yeah. Similar feeling when I was growing up. When I was very young, I was never married because I didn't want to enact the things I had seen in my own house. But that changed later when I became old enough to consider having long-term relationships. I switched over to an extreme need to be in a relationship. I was like, oh, I'm going to get married. I'm good. And then I began to dream of marrying a woman like my mom. And I made up my mind that when I find that woman, I'm going to protect her. So I made up my mind. I was still with friends randomly in school. Like, oh, I'm going to marry someone. What I didn't know was that one, over from I wanted to marry into wanting to marry without resolving the fear that maybe you never want to marry. And two, I was trying to compensate basically for my dad by saying that the unknown woman who I'm eventually going to meet, I was going to because I wanted to protect you. So that's exactly about this. Me coming from my past and projecting everything in my past into even a relationship that didn't yet happen, and how that influences my choices in that process of forming that relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you did. You took your parents' relationship and you used it as a platform for the relationship you wanted. You were like, oh, I see my parents' relationship. It's horrible. I'm going to do the opposite of everything my father did, which is not a goal. Your father and your mother should not be on your mind when you're thinking about having a relationship. Does that make sense? If you're a healthy adult going to a relationship, it should be all about you and that person. but what was foremost on your mind was your parents. So you can already see that that influence skewed how you were responding to whoever was in your life at that moment.
Yeah. Hey, but okay, so
And here's one of
like
the things you probably did was you probably put your mother on a pedestal in that moment.
I did.
You
Yeah.
split your parents into good and bad.
Yeah.
And your mother was
Yeah.
good. And therefore, here's where that could have caused you problems, is that therefore whoever you were dating at that point in time, you would have seen that person as 100% good, and by
Mm-hmm.
extension seen yourself as 100% bad,
Without
which
even
could
knowing
set
it.
you up for codependent. Yeah, we set you up for codependent relationships where you let people just
I'm
get away
always
with
I'm always
anything.
the one doing the compensating and trying not to be too bad because I think I'm bad. Oh, horrible. You know,
Yes.
I can't imagine how many people are actually doing this right now, not thinking about why am I like this?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
relationships can't work if you don't have people who are equally contributing to the health of the relationship, no?
Correct. Yes. And that kind of person, you ask for too little. Even if you're married to a good person, well, number one, you're open to being taken out. But even if you marry a good person, you won't ask for your needs to be met because you don't even think that your needs
They're
have any
worthy.
platform in that relationship.
Yeah. You think you're here to be the Mother Teresa and save everybody, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, what we end up doing. I was reading a book the other day, and I forget which book it was. It said, as an adult, what we're going to do is we'll keep returning to the scene of the crime of our parents in all of our
Yeah.
relationships, trying to
Yeah.
solve the mystery of why did this happen, and we'll
Yeah.
replay and recreate moments and the theme of our parents' relationship in our own relationships if you don't break the cycle through recovery, through therapy, through awareness. Awareness alone can actually break the cycle.
I think so too. I think it's yeah, like 30% of healing. Now this brings me to another thing I've observed. I want to ask you how should this work in marriages, for example, or relationships where the two people have already started meeting or know each other's families. When one of them makes a mistake, the other one will say, hey, you're just like your mother, or that's exactly how your father used to behave. How
Well, by my definition, that's verbal abuse to something that's sensitive in a person's life and use it against them in an argument. It's not okay. Not okay at all.
wow,
I don't know what you want me to say. Are you going to
wow.
analyze that? I'm like, no, that's a no, don't do it, because
I think
personal
it
trauma is
happens. It makes the person
sensitive.
feel,
It's traumatic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, how about this? How do we as Nigerian people, for example, deal with the pressure to get married? In the sense that I'm coming from a traumatic past or a childhood where I've learned things that are not good for my future relationship. But I also feel like it's time to be married and I feel the pressure to be married. And I haven't done the work to become the person I need to be to survive in the relationship. How do I deal with that? How do I deal with the
Mm.
pressure? Me, you see, I think the reason I'm asking this is that
Well,
let me explain. I'm asking this because the pressure assumes that all of us are on the same level and all of us are ready right now. But there are some of us who are not ready right now. There's some of us who are dealing with stuff that needs to be cleansed out, and we haven't done the work. And they're like, "How have you done it? All your friends
mhm.
have already done it. How do I deal with that?"
Your friends have done the work.
I'm not about me. I'm talking about
Well,
someone.
yeah, the problem with the Nigerian pressure is that it shows up in so many areas. Like it's just inappropriate. Any kind.
Uh-huh.
So the word pressure itself should tell you that it's a bad thing.
Yeah,
So
but
it's not a matter of dealing with it. Deal with it. Should I? The pressure is bad. Stop. And if somebody pressures you, you should tell them to stop. You set a boundary and be like, hey, this is my life. That's your life over there. So what you're going to do right now is you're going to walk over to your life and you're going to go live it. And I'm going to stay over here and live my life.
okay,
That's the only answer to that pressure. Because if you're
okay,
trying to responding to something outside of yourself, you can never find the right answer. For some people, your marriage in your late 30s, for some people should never marry. Just don't do it. How
right,
are you going to know which one you are if you're not listening to yourself, if you don't have time and space to figure out who you are, to go for long
exactly.
walks, just listening to yourself to bring out your own true feelings and your own true desires. No, don't respond to the pressure. Say no, even if it's your parents.
Right.
Even if it's your parents, because guess what? They've lived their lives, probably
Right.
messed it up. Are
Right.
you really about to take advice
Right.
from
I have
them?
a question. I
Well,
have a
you know.
question. There's a question on the screen from Funke. Funke says, Ayo, please explain. I suspect she's referring to that example I was giving when you started to answer. So I'm going to repeat it, but say it in a way, in an opposite way, so that Funke and anybody else can get it in a way that relates to the need of the person who is recovering. So Funke, here's what I meant. I was talking about people who are experiencing a delay. Mide says he's a big fan of yours. He says you're the real MVP.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
Mide, I'm jealous, but we'll talk about that somewhere else. So, as I was saying, Funke, there are people who experience a difficulty in getting to a point where they're ready to get married. They're in multiple relationships, one after the other. They like each other. It's all going well. Then once the other person starts indicating, what are we doing? Look at the clock. When are we going to fix this thing? When are we going to invite people? They back out. And so they have these repeated experiences of failed courtships. Okay. And then people start asking, what's going on now? So the people asking what's going on, like their families, for instance, are assuming that everything is okay with them. They're ready to do what everybody else does in terms of marriage. But they are dealing with issues that they themselves may not even be aware. And that's why Sade and I are discussing this, that these are people who have not yet resolved the trauma of watching their parents not being successfully married. Do you know that? Okay, since you are
Yeah.
on this, their parents who are together, they are not divorced, technically, but the way they're living in the house is worse than divorce. And the kids can see
Right.
this, and it horrifies the kids. And some of these kids have made up their minds subconsciously or consciously, I'm never going to experience this in my adulthood. So that kind of child is growing up, they're 17, they're 18, they're 20, they're 25, they're 30, they're 35, and they never get to the point where they can decide to marry someone because that fear was never addressed. That's what we're talking about this. Because there are many people out there, especially in cultures where there are dates and time limits on getting married. How do
Yeah.
they need people to understand them, but they also need to understand themselves. So I think that's the discussion we're trying to have.
Right. Yeah. No, no, definitely. And I even think about just even abusive marriages. Some abusive marriages stay together. And that can create a serious fear of being in a relationship for both men and women because they're afraid of being abused.
Yeah.
Or some men are afraid of becoming an abuser like their father or like their, or whatever, whichever gender it is that was the abuser. Some people are just afraid of being in that situation with a person where they become abused or they become an abuser.
You know what?
So,
You know what you said
I
now.
just, yeah.
What you said now really kind of hits me because that was me, and I see it right now, even as I am right now. I see myself preventing myself from being an abuser. And like you said earlier, it makes me overcompensate. I'm over nice. I can't even be myself. I can't even ask for my rights. I can't even be real sometimes because I'm like, I must not repeat the bad things I saw my own parental model do to other people. And
Right.
I feel like I need to walk through that and be like, you know what, it's okay. I said it before. I think I said it's okay to be both, to just be you, even if you're not completely perfect. And so people like me spend all the time trying to be super perfect because we're compensating for something that we didn't do, which is what someone else do to someone
Right.
else.
Right. And then there's also trust issues. The
Yeah.
ability to even trust another human being with yourself, with your heart, comes from having been growing up with people who were trustworthy. So if your parents were not trustworthy with your emotions, so things like what we're talking about, parents using each other's insecurities against each other, abusing each other, exploiting each other, and then as a child, when you grow up, you look at the world like people are not trustworthy. Like people, you look at the world like everybody's out to get you because that's how you felt in your home. The atmosphere was everybody was out to get each other within the home. How are you going to marry someone if you can't trust that that person has your back? And this is not a conscious thing. You might say to yourself, I do trust this person to have my back. But your subconscious programming, every other day you're checking, every other day you're concerned, every other day the person does something, you're like, he's fighting with me, or she's fighting with me, or she's doing this, she's doing that. See what I'm saying? So there's so many layers, so many skills that are required for successful relationships that
Yeah.
If you grow up in less than a healthy home, you have to explore where you are, and how that
Right.
has impacted you.
Right. Now, if we're going to be fixing this moving forward, I think that we have fixed on two sides. One, parents need to do some work or ask themselves some questions, but also the children who are growing through that, if they have experienced this, need to work on it before they have to be in their own marriages, right? So what can you say about the work that needs to be done to make sure that our childhood experiences no longer
Mm.
reduce our happiness in relationships? Okay,
Um,
parents or
I think
children, yeah.
self-awareness is huge. I think self-awareness is really the biggest thing. If people come out of denial and are able to say, this happened, that's the first step. Like if you
Okay,
can
I'm
even
talking about
just
the
say, okay, wait a
child.
second. Let me
That's the child who is growing
the
through
child
it.
as a child, parenting. Okay. So
Because
we're
two
talking
people
about
have to
children
do,
who are
two
going through
people
it
have
now,
to,
parents raising.
uh So who is doing the self-awareness now? Is it the child who is saying, okay, I'm traumatized?
It's the parents. Okay, so it's to either the adult who's trying to get married or the adult who is parenting
uh
their own children.
Okay, okay,
Right.
okay.
So children are not really able to go through that kind of self-awareness process without the help of an adult, like
Right, that's
children.
true. That's true.
But I think in both cases, whether you're parenting kids and you want to make sure that they experience something different, or you're wanting to get married, I think being able to look at your own childhood and say what my childhood was really like, and this is how it impacted me. Those two
Yeah,
explorations will give you a lot of what you need to get started with healing and recovery. If you can say, let me just think about my parents' marriage for a minute and go through the things that happened. Did you see them sharing their assets? Did you see them loving each other? Did they hug each other? Did they comfort each other when they were sad? When one person's parents died, when your grandparents died, how did your father react? How did your mother react? Little things. What was the
yeah,
morning breakfast like? All those things, if you're willing to walk through step by step the things that happened, your daily life
yeah,
as a child, you will see the patterns that you are unconsciously recreating.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
most
And I
people are
also
not willing to look at that. It's very painful.
no, that's why we're having this conversation, because I think parents can be selfish when they think that being married is all about them, the parents, but it's also about the kids. So I was remembering that when we were children, we used to watch one of these sitcoms on television with a black that was doing very well. Daddy and mommy were professional, the kids were all, those people, right? So and I noticed that what the husband and wife used to do was that anytime they had a problem, they'll be like they'll like be like arguing and stuff. Then when they notice that the child is coming into the kitchen or where they are, they'll stop arguing and they now smile and be sweet to each other while the child is there. So they made the habit
Yeah.
of, we will not be resolving hot problems of the child. We don't want children to learn bad examples from us. So we'll be civil in their presence. We'll always be conscious that we're modeling examples for these kids when they are there. But once the kids are out of the way and we're in our little room, we'll fight and sort it out. And I think it's something that parents should keep in mind. Your
Yeah.
Don't be so self-centered about what you're going through in marriage, like, oh, it's my marriage, and it's also about the kids. To go out of your way to
Yeah.
create examples for them. Like what you said, it's nice for, well, my dad used to do this, whenever, we're together, he would make sure we all sat at a table and we ate together. And he was trying to create a model that, look, it's good for families to sit around tables, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
share food and stuff. So those kind of deliberate actions, just, I think parents should be aware that children are learning from you, and when they go off into marriage in future, they'll be repeating the entire schooling that you're giving them in terms of how to relate to a man or a
Right.
woman or whatever it is. So do that with consciousness
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do Have you seen, when you've looked at, people, like the adult relationships that were in your life, uncles, aunts, people
Yeah.
on your, campus,
Yeah.
that generation, have you
Yeah.
seen a difference in how certain families were and how certain parents were, and then our generation?
Yeah, I
Did
have.
you see like different outcomes?
I don't know about I've seen different attitudes to parenting and relationship with kids. For instance, many of us were raised very what's the word, orthodoxly, very strictly, very top down. Yeah, many
Mm-hmm.
of us in our generation. But nowadays,
Yeah.
people, I see, how people our age are raising their kids, and it's very what we would consider television like, all those sweet, nice, soft, sweet things that they didn't really necessarily get. They didn't get that from their parents, but they are made up their mind that in this generation their kids will have a sweet life, have lots of teddy bears and ice cream. And we had some of that, but also, but I
Mm-hmm.
see it. I see that we are learning, and it's beautiful generationally in cycles that we are improving. We are taking the good lessons away and leaving the bad lessons behind. And I think that's what it's all about. That's why we do these conversations, because I think one important component of learning is to actually talk, to document things, write them down, not just assume we know it, but to talk and walk through what needs to be walked through
Right.
so that the results can change. Yeah.
Right. I think I've noticed different, like, just relatives. I remember there was one cousin of mine who said, oh, she had never seen her parents fighting. And of course I'm sure her parents did fight, but she said they never did it in front of the kids. And
Uh-huh.
there were three of them in their family, and all of three of them had happy marriages.
That's
So
yeah.
their parents never got divorced. Their parents didn't fight in front of them married and no divorce, even through midlife. And then
Yeah.
I look at certain other parts of the family. So this is like, yeah, other parts of the family, and you have one aunt who divorced multiple times, and
That
her
tends to.
children, one is not married, and the
Yeah.
other one not married, kind of the other one made a bad marriage. And so I've actually been able to observe like
Yeah.
the differences in within the same, having different kinds of marriages, and then their children also patterning that over, just because there are plenty of siblings on both sides of my
So yeah,
family.
yeah, so you're saying that the quality of relationships is actually a hereditary trait. Is that what you just said?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. We need yeah. And it's actually documented
And it's not
from many
hereditary through the
resources.
biology, it's hereditary through the emotional
No,
programming.
through the
Yeah.
psyche. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a nice comment. There's a nice comment from Kieran. He says that he used to see his parents hug a lot, and that's why he's hug.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Hugs are good. It releases oxytocin.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw my parents hugging, but okay.
Oh yeah, I did. I saw my parents, but hugging was not one of them.
That's a whole
Hugging was
other
not one of
story.
them. Even speaking. I don't know if I ever saw my parents speak civilly to each other.
Oh, that's horrible.
I don't recall. I don't have a recollection, because my first memories started just before the divorce. So I
Oh
don't
yeah,
really
for
have a
you.
recollection of a normal conversation
Yeah, yeah,
within the home. Like
yeah,
I can't recall it between either one of them, and they
yeah,
fought a lot. So
yeah.
yeah. And I know that's definitely had an impact on me, which is not, something I've had to work through. And you continue working through it, because you can't go and undo things. So the work of healing and recovery takes a lot of
A lot
awareness.
of time, effort, and awareness. So as we roll to a close, if you could tell our listeners one thing or two, if you like, that they need to take away from all of this conversation about childhood and future relationships, what would it be? What's the takeaway?
So I'm going to be a little scary,
Okay.
which is your determination to not repeat your parents' experiences is not going to help you.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not. I People come out of their parents' negative experiences like, I will never do this. I will never do what my parents did. Then they get married and they find themselves doing exactly the same thing. And they were determined not to do it. So it's not the determination that's going to help you. What's going to help you is the emotional is the awareness, gaining emotional intelligence, doing the work of healing and recovery. Google is your friend. Go to Google and search attachment theory or dysfunctional relationships affecting adulthood, whatever. Just Google whatever is happening in your life and start educating yourself. Educating yourself, getting that awareness, and doing the work of healing and recovery. That is what is going to make the difference. So that's the one
I
thing I think
totally
if you can take
agree.
that away will help you.
Yeah, and I'm also going to do a takeaway based on the comment I just saw from Mide, who tells us, Mide, your biggest fan, whom you guys should really get together and have a conversation. But Mide says that he observed his parents, that they had a messy relationship, but he's still determined to have a romantic life, and right now as an adult. And I appreciate that. And all I want to say to Mide is that, yeah, those are valid emotions and resolutions you have to go ahead and enjoy your life and have the best relationship you can. But the only thing that we can contribute to that right now is to say, like what Sade just said, you should do the work of awareness. You should know that for sure the mistakes they made, which you observe, you are likely to repeat them unless you actively do some work. Acknowledge. I just did that thing. I should talk about them. Let your partner understand you. Tell them, this is why I'm doing these things and I'm trying to get over it. And that is actually where the growth comes from. So that's my own takeaway, practically.
Absolutely. All right. I think we had a good one today. This was really interesting.
Still lagging.
So thank you. Thanks, Ayo, again. And thanks everyone
Thanks,
who
thanks,
left
Shadi. It was nice to be
comments.
with you. Yeah, yeah.
Have a good one.
Thanks to all of you. Yeah, we enjoy your comments and please keep bringing them on and leaving them even after the live show. So until we get back to you, probably at the end of the week, let you know. Thanks for your time and we hope you enjoyed the presentation. See you again next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, you guys. Bye.